Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're talking about why I genuinely don't like Nemesis.
Yeah, it's better served as a litter box, to be honest with you.
Well, that was a little bit extreme. You like this game, though.
I love Nemesis. But it is not without its faults.
I don't think it's a board game.
I mean, there's a board.
Well, that's true. That's true. I guess the question there would be the definition of game.
Game, yes.
Yeah. All that being said, this is a series called Confirmation Bias, where I do my very best to not only fulfill all of your desires, but also have a conversation about our space, the industry, the hobbies, the tastes that we all have, our preferences. In this series, we cover two sides to a conversation. Over on your channel, over on Table Knots.
We talked about why this is the greatest game
link
ever.
In the very top of this video description. By the way, swing over there, hit the subscribe button, follow along. They're doing some stuff that's better than what we're doing.
We're doing some stuff.
Some stuff.
Some stuff and things.
Some stuff. If you enjoy like humor and people hanging out and playing games and talking about stuff that you appreciate, or
if you enjoy Nemesis.
I'll do this.
Okay.
If you like Nemesis, I don't. Subscribe to Table Knots.
That's right, and unsubscribe.
No. And just the last push that we're going to do, if you want to see me playing this game, a game that, like I said, I genuinely think is bad, swing over to Table Knots as well. We have a full gameplay that will be going up on their channel sometime soon where you can watch all of the chaos.
It was a chaotic game.
Here's what I will say about that gameplay. It was so good.
It was.
It was great. So good.
It's great.
But that is not the conversation we're having here.
No, it's bad.
This conversation is all about the flaws with Nemesis.
I'm gonna start off with a little bit of a putt.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
soft putt before you're lining it up. So
I'm
I
lining
can
it up.
kick it.
That's right. Nemesis is a big game.
Oh, that's your putt?
Yes, with a lot of setup.
Do you mind if I just
No, just dice tower it. Throw them.
Shake it. Okay, yeah. Great.
A lot of setup and a lot of fiddliness, and that is certainly not for everybody.
It is. No, it's definitely. Well, that was a dog, which also aren't for everybody.
True.
It's certainly harder to table.
Yes.
You have to have people who are ready to sit down for a long play experience. You have a large board. You have a lot of mechanics, and you have a degree of variability. If you're playing semi-cooperative and not full cooperative, you also have information that's hidden that if everyone doesn't understand, you kind of have an off-putting experience as you're delving into the game. I didn't know I needed to go to the med station to check if I was infected.
Right.
Or
what is the med station?
Why did you just lock the door behind me? I thought we were on the same team.
I was almost to the escape pod. Yeah. So it's just a little putt. I'm just setting you up.
Well, let me
softballing it.
Let me double down a little bit on that same point.
Oh, okay.
No, it's still floating. It's still floating my direction.
Okay.
Player elimination.
Oh yeah, that's one of mine.
Is it?
Yeah, that's one of mine. 100%.
Listen. I've played a 5-hour session of Nemesis with 6 players, where 2 of the players were out by the 2.5-hour mark. We're talking 3 people in your game group sitting down to the sidelines going, well, that roll was good. It sucks. It sucks to be removed from a game experience. I understand it in a cinematic sense, but in a game sense, it doesn't make any cognitive... There's no reason.
I will say that of player elimination... It makes more sense in this package than in other ones.
Again, I understand why player elimination is in here. If it was trying to be a movie.
But it feels bad.
It's not a game.
Yeah.
It takes away... It's one strike against it from being a game as opposed to just an experience.
Yep.
If this was a game, you'd be focused on the players that are sitting around the table, trying to make sure for this game that can last 2 to 5 hours... that the entire experience for all players involved can be a positive and immersive one, despite, having its own degree of randomness and chaos.
Right.
The reality is with Nemesis is once players start leaving, once they start dying or escaping or finishing their task, there are large subsections of this game that genuinely will have people sitting off to the sidelines, not involved anymore.
Yes, it has to be aware of that. You have to know that coming in.
Thematically, experientially,
makes sense.
Makes all the sense in the world.
Fun, not so much.
From a game standpoint, it's not a game.
Yeah,
100%. It's not a game.
100%. Yeah, that was on my list as well. You're probably going to have a lot more negative talking points than I am.
I very well might. Now, do we want to lean thematics? Do we want to lean mechanics still?
I'll lean...
and we didn't give an overview of Nemesis in this video.
Because we did it in a different one.
We did do it in the other video. I think everyone watching this probably doesn't need the overview. So we're going to continue.
Okay. lean more mechanics, and then I'll follow up with another mechanics.
Okay.
Unless you take mine again.
Here's a substantial issue in this game. You awake in a cryopod on a ship that you launched on, and thematically you're supposed to be exploring and unveiling and discovering the rooms, and you're kind of getting your memory back and figuring out who you are as well. I mean, we have the scientist, we have the pilot, we have these beautiful, in-depth, gorgeous characters. And then you realize that their depth of play is 10 cards deep.
Yep.
The majority of the experience will be playing cards to move, and utilizing special actions or special abilities will happen maybe 3 or 4 times in the entire course of the game.
Maybe.
I mean, other than the search action, I don't use my computer card multiple times.
Oh, but when you're the soldier
to fire your gun.
Oh, the rapid fire wherever you drain the entire magazine. Oh, that's a satisfying.
But then your magazine's gone, and you have to go through a 30-minute process.
But you just killed the queen in one hit.
I hear what you're saying. That's not this video.
It's bad.
It's not this video.
It's bad.
Listen, I think that there is a lack to character depth and integration into this game.
Totally.
I think the length of the game doesn't justify the simplicity of the character cards.
Yes.
I think as you explore, as you venture into this space, there should be a degree of self-identity and self-realization and character growth.
There are items. Which is something
every character has 2 cards and special things that if they do this thing, they trigger a secret ability, and it's fine.
Yeah, but you can still pick up other items in the game. You can pick up a different gun and different things like that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, because you're not. If there were some better way of, and I know we talk about this a lot, of upgrading or unlocking new abilities and things
a degree of deck construction or deck building.
Yeah, deck building, I think, would be such a cool thing to add to Nemesis. It does need more of that, because you're picking your character at the start, and from start to finish, it's going to be the same 10 cards.
That's it. That's all you have.
And maybe a different item.
And you're drawing, 5 up into your hand every round?
Yeah. Oh,
and so the only way that cycle stops being the same cycle, and you stop playing the same degree of cards for move and then storing some in your hand, is when you start getting infections.
Yep.
Infections build your deck, but they build it in a negative way. They don't.
Instead of having 5 cards, you have 2 cards.
You have less cards that you can use.
Yeah.
This has always been the element across the board that has fallen flat for me when it comes to the game nature of Nemesis.
I won't disagree.
The cards restrict your play. They facilitate the experience. Nemesis is an experiential game, and every mechanic is tweaked to that. The restriction of cards makes it so you have to move slower. You have to decide what actions you use. You have to really think about the decisions you're making. Whether or not this computer card is more valuable to activate a computer, to reveal a room, to move into a space. The problem with that is it takes away the game part of it. I'm not able to customize or explore or develop as a character. I'm not able to strategize how I use my cards in a rewarding way. Instead, I feel restricted with every action and step that I take. Cinematically, it's appropriate.
Right.
As a game, it just doesn't work.
Yep. I will 100% agree with you on that fact.
Cool.
Absolutely. The next part for me, and we touched on this a little, it's different, but it's the same.
Okay.
In the nature of being semi-cooperative.
I hear you.
You all have different goals.
You do.
And your goal may not be to murder me.
Sure.
It may be to leave on an escape pod.
To not care about you.
Exactly. Yeah. And although that's not I'm dead player elimination, if you have the opportunity to leave, you're going to take that opportunity because that's how you win. And that may put you out 2 hours or half hour, or however long it may be, ahead of me. You weren't killed, but as a player, you've been eliminated from the game because you won.
You just won.
Right.
Yeah. I think the semi-cooperative version of this game is probably the worst way to play it.
I think it totally depends on the group's thought process.
I think cinematically, thematically, it is the appropriate way to play it. Of course you have your own shared interests. Of course you don't really care about everyone that's on the ship. You're more concerned about your own welfare,
own survival,
your own survival, and maybe a partner or a person. And maybe you just have a grudge against the mechanic.
That one's maybe not as thematic. Makes sense.
It could be because as the storyline goes, you're trying to accomplish your mission and make sure they don't survive.
Right.
There could be variable reasons why you don't want them to survive. They could have different information. They could be working with a different firm. This space pod and ship is probably not housed by the same team of people. And so there's reasons why that could be.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Again, reinforcing the idea that Nemesis is not a game. The best way to play is full cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
But as an experience, the best version of this game is semi-cooperative.
I've actually never played fully cooperative, so I can't touch on that
It
fact.
links you together instead of having this unknown above you. I don't think the semi-cooperative is done very well in this game. There's too much variability in what my mission could be, and there's no direct player interaction for the most part. And so it oftentimes just feels like you're on your own.
Yeah,
journey.
if you don't know anything about Nemesis and your objective is to kill me, you can't just shoot me.
You can't.
Like, it doesn't...
No.
You can't just do that.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to get me to die otherwise.
Yeah.
Whether that be locking me in a room or
Yes.
just leaving me behind.
And thematically, or not thematically, and with the cooperative mode, you're working together to solve this puzzle.
Right.
Which is great. But the best way to play it is semi-cooperative. The most like thematic, the thing that makes the
Engaging and
most sense.
atmospheric, yeah.
And it's the worst version of the game.
I will say that a lot of people... There's kind of three ways you can play this game. There's full cooperative, there's swimmy, woo! There's full cooperative, there's semi-cooperative, and then there's like half semi, half full, like where you all have your own different objectives, but no one wants to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's like... It's still player elimination, because you can leave on an escape pod and leave me be, but it's not like you're actively out to get me. That feels bad. So there's kind of three different ways to play, and I know you're talking full cooperative.
And let's
right
be
now.
honest, none of them are good.
That's true. This is a bad game. You shouldn't play it.
Randomness.
Yes. It is. If that's not something that you're okay
It's
with...
terrible.
Yeah.
You can get to the end of the game and have played a perfect run with highs and lows and dynamic moments, and then a dumb little worm in your chest on a single card that you picked up at the beginning of the game could have scripted your loss for the past 3 hours. Everything you just did
You should have got surgery.
Yeah, but it's not as simple as that.
I know.
There's
Because
a limit. There's a limit
Yep.
to actions. There's a limit to utility. At a certain point, the ship just becomes chaotic and infected. You can't control the way that noise is spreading, and once it has spread,
Kind of, you can.
by popping them.
No, you can do your quiet movement.
Quiet movement.
Yeah.
Which cycles even more cards out of your hand
does,
that you
it does.
already don't, have enough
does.
of. My thing is, the degree of randomness in this game oftentimes leads to very unfulfilling and like anti-moments. Now, experientially, thematically, a worm popping out of your chest just as you're like docking
great, yeah.
on Earth, it's beautiful. It's incredible.
But does it feel good to play?
But for a game, that moment sucks. It just disqualified the last 3 hours of play for me, and I just don't know what I realistically could have done to stop
And
it.
I think you're touching on that point with it being a game. I think if you come into this experience knowing it's a movie,
Yeah. It's just not a game.
it's not about winning.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. But
I'm
yeah,
glad.
Exactly.
I'm glad you're coming over to my side. That Nemesis it's not a game.
I'm not coming over to your side. I'm not coming over to your side. It is. One could argue.
Don't defend it. That's not this video.
That's not this video.
That's not this video.
But I wanted to finish so bad.
Here's the funny thing. When I covered Kingdom Death,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing Root in this series as well. Like, we only
Some
are
of your
doing-
favorite games.
Yeah. And I've played
Including
this.
Nemesis.
I've played this 6 times.
Yeah.
I'm not unfamiliar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people who love it. I genuinely don't. But the interesting thing is, and that was a sneeze, the interesting thing is positioning, and you want to defend it.
I do want to defend
But we
it.
just
I'm
did
catching
that.
my tongue.
We
I
just
know,
did that.
but I'm thinking of other things as we go on.
We just did that on your channel.
I know.
You got any more points?
I'm done for the most part. Player elimination, setup, and fiddliness, the semi-cooperative nature as well. That's kind of all I've touched on. I will give you the hand and agree. I'll just go ahead and scribble in right here that it is more of a movie.
Yeah.
It is not as much of a game experience. I'm not going to his side. But I will give him a little tip.
At the end of the day, Nemesis is a pretty incredible experience, but it's not a board game. There's too many mechanics and design choices that are designed around the experiential nature of this thing. I was gonna say game. Of this thing, as of this journey, as opposed to player experience and player like reinforcing the depth of strategy, character development, choice when it comes to actions and activation, growth across the course of a 3-hour game. It is a very fancy production that ultimately is like watching Nemesis or Aliens the movie. And if you don't like Aliens the movie, you're not going to like this game.
To be fair, I don't like Alien the movie. I mean, I guess I do, but I don't care about it.
I don't like Alien the movie either. There's not. I have a few other like nitpicky things that I can point out, but
you could probably go on for an hour.
I could. I mean, I'll point out one last thing that I just think was a pretty drastic oversight. There's nowhere to store your cubes.
Yeah.
When you do damage on creatures. There's a lot of tokens and things floating around this game experience, and while Awakened Realms has done a great job at crafting and creating a cinematic thing, when it comes to even the gameplay mechanics, the choices of where you put damage, how tokens are floating around the board.
In the rulebook, they literally have you taking red cubes and just placing them in crevices that they will fit, and it just doesn't work.
It's so silly.
I will 100% agree with you on that one.
Why not structure this base a little bit?
I think you can get like third-party things, but the point is you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, You can have that point all day and all night.
If you want to see the other side of this conversation, why?
This is one of the best games ever.
One of Max's favorite games. And hear my genuine arguments for and on behalf of Nemesis. Because I don't do this type of video on games that I can't see both sides to.
Right.
And that I don't think are worth having a conversation on both sides. Swing over to the other part of confirmation bias over on Table Nuts. All that being said, do you agree with me? Down below?
Or do you agree with me?
Is Nemesis, this is in this video. Is Nemesis not really a board game? All that being said, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Go and play some games. I'll see you next time. Thank you.